now return to the Transformers.
But before we talk about when Rodimus shows up again, the Decepticons decide that the Autobots have interfered with their attempts to get Energon from Earth one too many times, so they decide to get it from another sector of space. Took them 16 episodes, but they finally remember that space is big. So the Autobots get themselves a spaceship and head out after them, and before the journey can begin proper, the Decepticons ambush them. And in the ensuing fight, the Autobots activate their ship's Energon shield, Demolisher pushes Megatron out of the way, and...
Mark my words, you'll pay! Hurry, get in the ship! Come on, man! Move it!
Yeah, notice something wrong with Ironhide's response in that scene? Here, let me replace it with something a little more appropriate. Demolisher! No! It's too late, Ironhide! We have to go! That seemed a little more fitting with the visuals on screen, don't you think? That's because the dub is trying to downplay the fact that Demolisher just died, and that Ironhide is supposed to be distraught over this. And as if they haven't kicked me in the balls enough as it is, the next episode begins with Megatron bringing Demolisher back to life in a new body, and his character arc up to this point being conflicted between his loyalty to being a Decepticon, uncertainty about whether or not he should be following Megatron, and his reluctant respect towards Hotshot and Ironhide. Well, you can toss it all out the window because it's never brought up again. He just follows Megatron's orders and pounds his chest like a gorilla. Heh, check it out, the truck is acting like a monkey. Because it wasn't enough to do this to Starscream, you just had to do it to Demolisher too. Also, Cyclonus was given a new body after being injured in an earlier episode and even given a new name, Snowcat. It didn't factor into anything and never will. Same with Tidal Wave later down the line, being damaged in a battle and given a new body and name, Mirage. Are you noticing a pattern? Well, one thing that does matter is the episode Tale of Two Heroes. Yeah, I'm going to just ignore that typo and move on. Rodimus explained himself to Optimus, revealing he and Scorponok are actually working with Alpha Q. Turns out Unicron destroyed Alpha Q's planet at some point, and he's been working to use Unicron's power to restore it and all the planets he's consumed over the years. Of course, there are some inconsistencies with Rodimus' story, since he says that Unicron fell into a deep sleep afterwards because Scorponok blew up the planet to stop Unicron's advance. Yeah, some things never changed. Which doesn't exactly match up with Unicron masquerading as Cybertron's moon for millions of years. But let's not worry about that for now. Optimus stands by his decision that it's a better idea to destroy Unicron, and I don't blame him. Even if recreating destroyed worlds is possible, they would be infected with Unicron's evil, and then we'd all be worse off. I guess this didn't occur to Rodimus, Scorponok, or Alpha Q. Or Ironhide, since he sneaks off on his own to find them, and gets captured by Scorponok in the process. Kicker eventually makes his way to Alpha Q and...
Guess I was expecting someone pretty great after hearing Rodimus' story. I didn't expect a carnival.
Why, you little... I'm the one who's been his hostage. This is definitely Alpha Q.
Wrong. I'm going in to pull you out.
I have put off talking about this character for too long. The human companion characters are usually controversial among the Transformers fanbase. Sometimes they're liked, sometimes they're boring, sometimes they're intrusive, and other times they're annoying. Kicker? He's just straight up unlikable. Yelling and throwing a temper tantrum at the Autobots, often telling them what to do and being rude in literally every conversation in the show. Early on, he often acted like a bratty 5-year-old when things didn't go his way, even though he's supposed to be a teenager. Why this chick, Misha, or Mika, or whatever the hell her name is, even the show wasn't consistent on that, puts up with him, hell, why the Autobots don't put him in his place is anyone's guess. But of course they keep him around because he was given the ability to sense Energon by Primus as a child. And sure, he was scarred as a child because his father, Dr. Jones... No, not that Dr. Jones. This guy is much lamer. And a much worse parent, having taken his preteen son into deep space and seemed more focused on finding Energon than his son's well-being. And yet, Kicker still doesn't deserve my sympathy because he acts like a jackass on every occasion possible! Look, I don't care for this show's version of Ironhide, but the flat-out verbal and physical abuse he gets from Kicker is undeserved. I am actually at a loss as to who is more unlikable, Chrome Dome from Headmasters or a Kicker. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, and we'll decide together, shall we? In the meantime, let's get back to what this show claims as a story. Megatron brings Unicron to Cybertron to rally his troops, leading to a dangerous Decepticon by the name of Shock Blast escaping from an Autobot prison. Turns out there's some bad blood between him and Tidal Wave, but this goes nowhere, as usual. Two of his guards, Wing Dagger and Padlock, try to recapture him, but this just leads to Padlock's death. Wing Dagger tries to avenge his friend, but ends up getting killed himself. This is the same act that also led to Tidal Wave getting injured and subsequently rebuilt into Mirage. Wing Dagger also gets rebuilt into Wing Saber, giving him the ability to combine with Optimus, which I can't help but laugh at since this is a reversal of what happened with Star Saber and Victory Leo, since like Victory Leo, Wing Saber will be used as a power-up for Prime more often than he will be used as an actual character. Oh sure, he gets one fight with Shock Blast, but after that their rivalry never comes up again. Scratch yet another character arc off the list. Back to more relevant things, Megatron brings his forces up to Unicron's body while the Autobots finally meet up with Alpha Q inside Unicron's head and agree to a temporary alliance with him and Scorponok, at least until Megatron's defeated. What happens next isn't very clear because the English dub yet again makes a mistake. Alpha Q slams Unicron's head into his body so the Autobots can get inside and uses Energon sent by Dr. Jones to combat the Energon Megatron had gathered up to this point. The combating Energon ends up creating a rift in space that ends up sucking Unicron inside. And on the other side of the rift is a newly created universe where worlds eaten by Unicron in the past are slowly being restored. Oh, and Unicron's body gets recolored from orange to green and black. Now what's the mistake, you might ask? They don't explain what the hell Alpha Q is trying to accomplish! Seriously, I needed to have a summary of the original Japanese episodes to know what the hell is happening!
And you want to know what the worst part is? We're only halfway through.
It's here in Alpha Q's new universe, the Autobots and Decepticons start spinning their wheels, no pun intended, as the Decepticons start raiding worlds for Energon so they could reactivate Unicron, again, and the Autobots fight to defend the new worlds. Alpha Q himself takes up residence inside Unicron's head, which is now transformed into an Energon star to give life to these new worlds. As mentioned before, Wing Saber has his one fight with Shock Blast, and then that subplot is swept under the rug. But what's even worse is something we learned in the episode Scorponok Scars. One of the restored worlds is, in fact, Alpha Q's home planet. Alpha Q and Ironhide try to get through to Scorponok, who at this point has been brainwashed into serving Megatron, just like Starscream and Demolisher, to stop attacking the worlds he himself worked to create. What makes this so sad is not just because Megatron's grip on Scorponok's mind is too strong for him to resist. Not only is it because we learn here Scorponok is not the original, but rather created in the image of one Alpha Q had known years before, but also, as the sudden appearance of subtitles probably gave away, is that this plot-relevant episode was not dubbed in English! I mean, there are at least 10 episodes I could think of that could easily have been dropped and nothing would have been lost. This is not one of them! In fact, after watching this episode, I can say without hesitation that it is the best episode of Energon, if only by comparison, and the only one I would say is actually good. And they don't include it in the dub! In fact, later episodes would actually remove references to this one whenever it was mentioned. This is a new level of incompetence I have not seen in a long, long time. After more wheel spinning, the Decepticons eventually succeed in getting Unicron's body working again, and he starts affecting Megatron's mind. Took him long enough. Megatron's been using Unicron's power so much you'd be forgiven for thinking this is yet another plot point that they dropped arbitrarily. Shock Blast gets the idea that he can take control of Unicron and usurp Megatron, only for Unicron to take control of him. Prime tries to get through to Shock Blast and he manages to break free just in time for Unicron to take control of Megatron, and uses his giant fist to smash Shock Blast to pieces. And Wing Saber is nowhere to be found during this scene. Also, Omega Supreme shows up. Yeah, he exists just to be a power over Prime, perhaps even more so than Wing Saber. Inferno contributes more to the plot than Omega Supreme does, by bringing Energon towers to Alpha Q's dimension to try to halt Unicron's advance, which then fails. But hey, at least he tried something. Why does he look different than when we last saw him? And why is his name now Roadblock? Well, earlier in the episode Imprisoned Inferno, seriously with that typo, he was captured and tortured by Megatron. And it was pretty brutal too, since they actually hand-drew the scene, since they knew Inferno's torture wouldn't have the same impact if they stuck with their usual CG models. The Autobots rescued him, but Megatron's brainwashing started affecting his mind. And after 3 episodes resisting Megatron's influence, he flings himself into the Energon Star and dies in Farewell Inferno. And by dies, I of course mean Jetfire retrieved his disembodied spark off screen, and he was subsequently rebuilt because, damn it, we have new toys to sell.
That's right, they started a character arc, did their usual reset button so they don't have to actually follow up on it, just so they could set up a plot point, bringing the Energon towers to slow down Unicron, which, as I just said, doesn't actually work! Thank you for wasting my time, yet again.
With Unicron once again in the driver's seat, Alpha Q sends his Energon Star to Unicron to stop him. And even when they aren't trying to make Alpha Q look like a villain, they still can't help but make him look incompetent, since all this does is extinguish the star, give Unicron his head back, and kills Alpha Q. Oops.
Now, I've only mentioned Primus very briefly when I was ranting about Kicker earlier. You remember him, right? The god that created the Cybertronian race? Cybertron itself being, in fact, his physical body? Well, the reason is very simple. The stub has gone out of its way to downplay his existence!
So you can imagine how out of nowhere it is when Primus suddenly decides to be relevant to the plot by shooting a beam of Energon at the Autobots, recoloring Hotshot, Jetfire, Ironhide, and these two, yeah, they are so unimportant I don't remember their names, and making Prime grow to Unicron size so he can battle the Chaos Bringer one-on-one in the episode Unicron Perishes.
Well, thank you for telling me that! When will this franchise ever learn not to give away the fact that a character dies in the episode title?
It sure is convenient for the animators that a space cloud appeared underneath them so it would be easier to animate. Though I gotta be honest, the models for Unicron and Giant Optimus are slightly better. This would probably be impressive if this was done by animation students. Anybody else remember NG Smooth's videos? Whatever, Optimus and Omega Supreme ramble about inner strength and other bullshit that sounds like it was rejected from the cutting room floor of Super God Master Force because it made no sense. Point is, Optimus shoots Unicron's head off and he explodes in a very familiar looking scene.
I thought this series would never end. Truck.
It's not over.
What? But they just beat Unicron.
I know, but we still got another 13 episodes to go.
Oh.
Fuckers.
Let's just get this over with. This last arc is mostly filler anyway. So even though Unicron's body was destroyed, which should be impossible, Megatron survived, and in the following episode, Ambition, he leads an attack on Cybertron. Still alive inside Megatron's body, Unicron tells him about a pool of super energon deep under the planet, and please don't ask me how Unicron knows about it. So Megatron takes a dip in the pool, its guardians not doing their job protecting it. Hell, when he emerges from the super energon, 2 of them swear their allegiance to Megatron.
There's no reason to doubt me now. I am Galvatron.
Oh, shut the fuck up! You just got a new paid job. Look at Starscream. He exposes himself to the super energon and didn't feel the need to rename himself. Mind you, his new colors aren't all that different from what he had originally, but whatever. The Energon towers on Cybertron get damaged and start releasing Energon gas all over the planet. Now, when the grid was activated in previous episodes, it was able to repel the Decepticons because they don't have the same Energon stars that the Omnicons are able to create for the Autobots. However, this gas forces the Autobots to retreat from Cybertron, but doesn't affect the Decepticons because... And then Galvatron intends to move Cybertron to Alpha Q's dimension because... Yeah, I'd be surprised if the writers had a reason in mind why anything is happening anymore.
The Transformers will return after these messages.